Thank you very much. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Aurora Committee of Adjustment meeting for August the 11th, 2022. Before we begin, I would like to start this meeting by acknowledging that the lands on which we live and work is the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe and many other nations whose presence continues here to this day. As a municipality, Aurora has shared responsibility for the stewardship of this land. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. I will start by introducing committee members and staff. I am the committee chair and my name is Tom Plamondon. And the remaining members are as follows. The vice chair is Daniel Lajeunesse, and the remaining members are Steve D'Angeli, Linda Duringer, and David Mango. The secretary treasurer is Peter Fan, and the planners on staff are Sean Lapina, who is with us this evening, Rosanna Punit, Stephen Kaur, and again, Peter Fan is our secretary treasurer. The council committee coordinator is Linda Bottas. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually and through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded in accordance to the Municipal Act and the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered this evening are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive information of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through town staff. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Presentations and deputations are limited to 5 minutes as much as possible. Following any comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the secretary treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form, again, available through the secretary treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. If you require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. And if you wish to speak and are currently following the meeting on the YouTube feed, you will need to turn this feed off and join the live meeting, as there is a slight lag between the YouTube feed and the live feed. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any question or comment should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So with that outline, I'll call the meeting to order and look to the committee for approval of the agenda for this evening. Daniel, yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I move that we approve the agenda as circulated for August 11th, 2022.
Thank you. Look for a seconder. Stephen, thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you, and that carries. I'll look to the committee for any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, and I believe there is one this evening. David, yes.
Yes, so I may have a conflict of interest on the application, the 6.2 on the agenda. So it's MV-2022-25, Liari, 64 Conover Avenue. So I will excuse myself during consideration of that application.
And David, just briefly, the reason for the conflict of interest is, I believe you are a neighbor?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And that's fine. When we get to that item, we will just briefly pause, and what we will do is, David, what we'll do is we'll ask you to mute your microphone and turn your video off. Once we have completed the review of that item, we will then ask you to rejoin the meeting. And for everyone's benefit this evening, a number of members of the committee are in very remote locations. So I just want to mention that if there are people who may drop in or drop out due to the connections that they are trying to maintain this evening, I'll just make sure that we maintain quorum throughout the meeting. And those who may drop out will then be more than happy or more than welcome to reestablish connection and rejoin the meeting. If they are away for an extended period of time, and we haven't cleared the introduction and the presentation, we'll use discretion when it comes time for discussion and for motions and voting. So with that,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to note that there has been a exchange with Linda Botas regarding that we are not live streaming at this time. So just to ensure that we remain in compliance, I don't know if you wanted to note that this is recording only, and the actions to follow are yours. Oh, that being said, I believe live streaming has just begun, so we can ignore what I just said.
No, that's fine. And thank you for the heads up on that, Daniel. Okay. So we are back live streaming. I believe we have got everyone who is scheduled to appear before the committee who wants to address the committee. They are still with us as well. Okay, so let's move on to item 5 on the agenda. This would be to receive the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting of July the 14th, 2022, and that is meeting number 22-07. So I'll look to the committee for approval of those minutes, and I'll look for a motion to that effect. Go ahead, David. Thank you.
Through the chair, I move that the Committee of Adjustment minutes from meeting number 20-07 be approved as circulated. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Look for a seconder. Stephen, thank you. So all in favor? And that carries. All right, moving on then to the presentation of applications for this evening. The first one that we have this evening is minor variance application 2022-23. This is for 43 Watts Meadow. And the owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate a driveway expansion at the street line for a detached dwelling. The following relief is being requested. A, section 5.6.1A triple I of the zoning bylaw allows a maximum driveway width of 10 meters if the lot frontage is 18 meters or greater, with the exception that the maximum driveway width at the street line shall not exceed 6 meters. The applicant is proposing a driveway width of 10 meters at the street line. Just as background, the stated reason for not complying with the zoning bylaw is as follows. The primary reason behind our minor variance application is to address various mobility issues with several family members. Transport is done via various York Region's ambulance transport service providers, ideally having widened access at the front, as the grade pitch to a handicapped person is more challenging, and anything that we may do to assist loading and unloading to the front door as close as possible is why we are looking at this from the applicant's standpoint. With regards to general intent of the official plan, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the official plan, and general intent of the zoning bylaw. Again, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw, and that the proposed variance is considered desirable for the appropriate development of the land. Staff are of the opinion, again, that the requested variance is considered desirable and appropriate development for the property. And I think that is in addition to the conditions that have been requested. Proposed variance minor in nature. There is minimal impact as the result of the proposed variance, as the proposed driveway width is in keeping with the established character of the neighborhood and will not negatively impact the attractiveness of the street. No adverse impacts on the streetscape surrounding character of the community or adjacent properties are anticipated. Staff are therefore of the opinion that the variance is minor in nature. With regards to additional comments received, the building division preliminary zoning review was completed on June the 24th. Engineering division, operational services parks, operational services public works, Central York Fire Services, York Region, LSRCA. Comments were either provided stating no comments or concerns, or comments received, no comments received at the time of writing of the report. Electric utilities, comments provided stating no objections. So I'll just mention that there is an Appendix A, and there is only one condition. And that is that the variance applies to the subject property in substantial conformity with the plans. So I'll now ask, is the owner available to join the meeting? I'm looking for either Philip or Judith. I believe it's Anticol. Good evening. So I'll now ask, is the owner available? And I believe, Phil, you are on the YouTube feed.
Yes.
So you would need to join us live here.
Yes. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the committee for your time this evening. Hopefully I'm in view and online, and you can hear me okay.
Yes. So for the record, I'll just ask you for your name and address, please.
Yes, Philip Anticol, and myself and wife, new owners at 43 Watts Meadow in the township of Aurora.
So I'm going to just suggest, do you have any, is there a presentation or comments that you would like to provide the members of the committee? Yes, so for the record, I'll just ask you to your name and address, please. Yes, Philip Adjecall, and myself and wife, owner of the 43 lot. So I'm going to just suggest, do you have any, is there a presentation or comments that you would like to provide to members of the committee?
If Peter could assist, I just wanted to emphasize from the planning department's comments in section C about beautifying the space. I did take the time to get the took advantage of a landscape architect that I've retained, so that pending the outcome of this minor variance request, just to re-emphasize that I take beautifying and pride of ownership to make sure that it enhances the front of both the street and the house and the neighborhood, and it's not just someone trying to create a parking lot, if you will. Just to re-emphasize that beautifying and pride of ownership, ensure that it enhances the front of both the street and the house, neighborhood, and it's not just someone trying to create a parking lot. And Peter has, I believe, a second picture, just as the original picture of the front of the house, just as a reference of where we're currently at. Kind of just someone threw some rocks up there, and the stairs are and unfortunately not set right. I don't know who the previous owners took advantage of, but unfortunately I think they got had by some shoddy workmanship, unfortunately. Stairs are unfortunately not set right. I don't know who the previous owners took advantage of, but unfortunately they got hacked by some shoddy workmanship, unfortunately. So Peter, he's hearing himself back with that delay in it, and I guess he's waiting for himself to catch up. Yeah, I apologize. There seems to be a lag in the feed. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or not. I apologize.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Phil, the live stream has a few second delay. So if you can just close out of the live stream and you can join us on the Zoom meeting.
I apologize. There seems to be a lag in the feed. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or not. I apologize.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Phil, the live stream has a few second delay. So if you can close out the live stream and you can join us on the Zoom meeting.
So, Mr. Adjecall, was there anything additional that you wanted to add to the two slides that we've just had a look at, or?
You know, that short of any questions, yes, I'm done, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. All right. So if you can, Peter, bring us all back. There we go. Thank you. I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public who wishes to speak to the committee on this item. So I'll go to members of the committee then for comment or questions of the applicant. Stephen, yes.
There we go. Just unmuting myself. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just more than anything, a general comment. I think we've seen a number of these applications, you know, that we've approved in the past with, I would say, lesser reasons, practical reasons So I'm supportive of this case. I'm thankful to Mr. Antico for taking into account the streetscape impact, and it seems to me like there's a real need here. As we've said many times, we've asked as a committee where the hardship is. I think you've clearly articulated what the hardship is, and you've taken into consideration the objectives of the bylaw and have addressed them very well. And I think we have a very good staff report supporting the application. So I am comfortable supporting this application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. Let me go to Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you through the chair. As well, I have purely a comment, and that is when I came into today's committee meeting, I had a little bit of a concern that this was going to be a unmanicured, if you wish, expansion. So I'm very thankful that you came with those images, or specifically the first one where you showed the landscape architecture's renderings, and it alleviated my only concern. So I'm gone from a question to a position of support. So thank you for that. If it was circulated in advance, I apologize that I missed it, but I'm glad that you presented it today. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't believe that it was pre-circulated, Daniel. So I too appreciate the effort that has been taken, and the approach that's been taken as well. Let me just see, David. David, you've got a comment or question?
I don't have any question. Just a general comment that seeing this application, unlike the ones which we have objected, they seem to be considered or other things without impacting on the trees or impacting on the water box or water valve, and the reasons for that expansion, considering accessibility and so on, seem to be good reasons. So those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David, let me go to Linda. Linda, any comments or questions?
No, I'm good. I agree with what my colleagues have said and gone over, so I'll just keep it moving. But thank you. Yeah, thank you for sending that last bit of information. That was awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. All right. I'm just going to comment just briefly, not so much on this application, but the number of these that we have dealt with over the past. They seem to be coming on a very regular basis, and I'm wondering if Sean, or let me to staff, is there any I guess, interest from staff's perspective on taking a report or having a look at this? We seem to be, for the most part, just approving these as they're coming through, and just wondering if that's something that staff might take forward back to council in a report at some time in the near future.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is something I can certainly raise with the planning director. Perhaps you're right. It's we would maybe have to look at our zoning standards to see if there are any changes that may be necessary moving forward. But yes, this is definitely something I can raise with the planning director, and we can report back to you.
Perfect. That's great. That's a super initiative, and I appreciate that.
No.
All right. I'll then turn to the committee for a motion on the application. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. So I saw your thumb first. Go ahead, Steve.
Perfect. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve minor variance application 2022-23 for 43 Watts Meadow, subject to the condition outlined in Schedule A of the staff report.
Thank you very much. I'll look for a second to see Linda's hand. Thank you very much. So calling the question, all in favor of the motion? And that carries. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Anacol, it looks like your minor variance has been approved by the committee. And thank you for your attendance this evening and your presentation, and wish you a pleasant evening.
I thank the committee and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. All right, moving to item 2. So this will be the item, David, that I see he has already muted his microphone and has taken his picture offline. So we'll move on to the next item. We still have quorum with 4 members in attendance, where we technically need 3. So the next application is for 64 Conover Avenue in Aurora, and that's MV 2022-25. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a greenhouse addition to the rear of the existing single detached dwelling. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 24.307.1.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum rear yard setback of 6 meters. The applicant is proposing a 1-story greenhouse addition, which is 3.3 meters to the rear property line. B, Section 24.307.1.3 of the zoning bylaw allows a maximum lot coverage of 45% for 2-story buildings. The applicant is proposing 47.8% lot coverage with the addition. Planning comments as follows. General intent of the official plan. The proposed greenhouse addition is proposed to be located in the rear yard and therefore screened from public view, thus will create minimal disruption to the streetscape and is in keeping with the surrounding context of the neighborhood. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the general intent of the official plan. With regards to the zoning bylaw, the intent of the rear yard setback requirement is to ensure adequate separation is provided between buildings on abutting properties. Furthermore, staff are also mindful of any potential negative impacts to neighboring properties from a privacy standpoint in regards to abutting rear yard amenity space. Any potential visual impacts to the properties west of the subject dwelling will be mitigated by the existing fence along the west property line, which is proposed to remain. And the intent of the lot coverage yard requirement is to regulate the amount of building footprint on a property to avoid overbuilding and that sufficient open space remains available. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Considering the desirability of for the appropriate development of the land, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are considered desirable and appropriate development for the property. And staff finally are of the opinion that the requested variances are minor in nature. Additional comments following circulation. Building division, the preliminary zoning review was completed on May 27th, 2022. Engineering services, operational services, parks, operational services, public works, Central York Fire Services, all stating no comments or providing no comments in writing at the time of the report. York Region, comments provided stating no comments or concerns with the proposed application. LSRCA, no comments received at the time of writing the report. And Electra Utilities, no objections to the approval. This application had no written submissions from members of the public. There is conditions for approval are outlined in Appendix A. So I'll ask the owner or applicant to, if they are here and wish to make a presentation. I believe it's Cam Petrangelo. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, good evening.
Good evening and welcome. I'll ask you to just give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Cam Petrangelo. I'm living in Brampton, 108 Leander Street in Brampton. I'm acting as the owner's applicant on behalf of Mr. Reilly of 64 Conover Avenue in Aurora.
Welcome.
Yeah, just to say, we have applied for the minor variance and asking the town for relief for the zoning bylaw 6017-17, to facilitate the construction of a greenhouse shed addition to the rear of the existing detached dwelling. And is asking for the following reliefs, if that's okay. There's one as the 24.307 1.2 of the zoning bylaw that requires a minimum rear yard setback of 6 meters. We have proposed a one-story greenhouse addition, which is 3.3 meters to the rear of the property. And the second is 24.307 1.3 of the zoning bylaw, allows a maximum 4.5 lot coverage for a 2-story building. We have proposed, we are proposing for 47.8% of the lot coverage for the addition. That's all I have right now. I'm just hoping everything could work out.
All right, thank you very much. Again, I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public to address the committee. I will note that there was one letter that we received in support of this application. And I believe it is actually from a member of the committee, who I believe is a neighbor. Other than that, I don't believe there are any other letters or objections that we have received. I'll look to members of the committee for any comments or questions of the applicant. I see Daniel there.
Thank you, through the chair. Quick question in terms of the use of both the word greenhouse and the actual building or extension as it's built. When you say greenhouse, do you refer to as an extension where you'll put a dining table and sit and enjoy the sun, or are you picturing growing some plants and some vegetables? What is the intended use of this green space that you're creating?
Correct. It's a prefabbed greenhouse. It's attached to the structure. So yeah, and there's a sliding door. You go in and you act using it as a plant growing or keeping plants. Exactly. That's the intent. It's not a living space.
Okay, so that actually something I do support quite well in terms of allowing individuals to grow and to understand what they're growing and eating. So then I am thankful for the idea of trying to bring home gardening forward, and I believe that this is done in a respectful way, a good looking way from what I'm seeing, and will have very little impact. So I'm good. I just, with that clarification, I'm happy. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. Daniel, you asked the one that I was going to ask, so thank you for covering that off. Steve, I see your hand up there. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, it's just a clarifying question. I'm looking at the site plan. I've read the staff report. I see, I believe that the height of the greenhouse is 9 feet. Is that correct? I know it's, I've sort of blown it up. Have I read that correctly?
Correct. Yes.
I think I may have frozen.
The screen froze there a bit. Can you
I
hear me?
apologize. I might have frozen here.
Okay.
Did you guys get my question?
Yes, yes, correct. The 9 feet, I can't recall that. I don't have the documents here, but yeah, it's not that high. And it's prefab, so it's glass all over. It's not like it's made, the person, Mr. Relly, purchased it from an actual greenhouse distributors that, so it's a proper structure.
Perfect. Through you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that. Yeah, that addresses my concern. I mean, I think staff have obviously our concerns generally here are privacy and the impact to neighbors, and I think that has been well addressed in the staff report. You know, like Daniel, you know, I applaud this the use here, and I have no concerns with this application.
Thank you, Steve. Linda, any comments or questions? Yes, sure, go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you. I just wanted to say, yeah, Steve, I just looked up the plans. It is 9 feet high and 10 feet wide, and it's 8 feet below the peak of the roof, the corner of the roof. So it's not as big as I thought as well. It's a nice size little greenhouse, and I agree with what Daniel had said as well as yourself. I support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, the comments that my colleagues have already made, I would echo as well. So I have absolutely no problem with this one. It seems very reasonable. So I'll look to the committee then for a motion on this one. Linda, yes, I see your hand up there. Go right ahead.
Thank you through the chair. I motion that minor variance application MV 2022-2564 Canover Avenue be recommended according to the recommended condition of the approval on Appendix A.
Be approved. Okay.
Be approved.
Be approved. Thank you, Linda. That's perfect. I'll look to the committee then for a seconder on that. Steve, I see your hand there. Terrific. Thank you very much. Calling the question. All of those in favor? And that carries. So that's terrific. That has been approved.
Thank you.
And you
Members
could
and chair.
certainly advise the owner that
We'll be very happy.
that has been approved. And I'll bid you a good evening and thank you for being here.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So David, if you can hear me, you are free then to rejoin the meeting.
Through the chair, there might be a hockey game or something.
I just want to make sure that he knows that he's clear to come back. There he is. Welcome back. You're still in San Francisco there, David, but
Yes,
You're-
I am.
you're with us. All right, moving on then. So just so that the applicant is aware, what I'm going to do is there is a staff report that links minor variance 2022-26 and minor variance 2022-29. It appears in the circulation as two reports, but it basically rolls those two together. And what I'm going to do is I'll bring those two together at the same time. And if a presentation, Cheryl, is going to be made, we can do the whole presentation for all of them, but we'll consider these two first, and then we'll deal with them together, but individually as motions to approve, if the committee so decides, and then we'll move on to the last three, which will also be combined. So I'll only be going through these two once, and we can go from there. So these are minor variance applications 2022-26 lot 69, and minor variance 2022-29, lot 92. There are related planning applications. There's a subdivision application, which is 2015-01, minor variance 2021-03, minor variance 2021-02, and minor variance 2022-3 and 4, as well as minor variance 2022-27, 28, and 30. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended, to decrease setbacks and encroachment for lots 69 and 92, each relating to proposed two-story dwellings. The following relief is being requested. For lot 69, which is minor variance 2022-26, the following is being requested. A, section 24.466.2.2 of the zoning bylaw permits a minimum front yard setback of 4.5 meters to the main building. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached dwelling, which is 4.1 meters to the front property line. B, section 24.466.2.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 6 meters to the attached garage. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached garage, which is 5.6 meters to the front property line. C, section 24.466.3 of the zoning bylaw permits window boxes to encroach a maximum of 0.6 meters into the front yard. The applicant is proposing a two-story dwelling with a window box, which encroaches 0.8 meters into the front property line. For lot 92, minor variance 2022-29, A, section 24.466.2.2 of the zoning bylaw allows for a minimum rear yard setback of 7.5 meters. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached dwelling, which is 6.9 meters to the rear property line. And I'll just go to, there are various reasons for these two applications coming forward. I will leave those reasons to the applicant to provide, although in the staff report, they are spelled out there. With regards to the planning comments and the general intent of the official plan, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and that it will have no impact on the existing neighborhood character. With regards to the general intent of the zoning bylaw, the variances is a result of an irregular and unique lot configuration, which results in a conveyance of lot 69 lands to the rear property, being 3 Trillium Drive, to preserve an existing koi pond. And I understand that a letter from the owner of 3 Trillium Drive has been submitted in support of the requested variances. And I believe that letter was circulated earlier this afternoon. The requested variance for lot 92, the rear yard setback of 6.95 meters, is a result of the preservation of a mature tree and a portion of lot 92 lands to be conveyed to the abutting owner at 39 Golf Links Drive. And a letter of support has been received from the owner of 39 Golf Links Drive. Again, that letter, I believe, was made available this afternoon. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the variances have minimal impact on the streetscape and will not result in a negative impact to the neighborhood. And with regards to the variances being considered desirable for the appropriate development of the land, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances do not result in negative impacts to the neighborhood and overall streetscape. With regards to they being minor in nature, staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are minor in nature and does not adversely affect the overall neighborhood character. Additional comments received following circulation. Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on July the 7th of 2022. Engineering Division, Operational Services Parks, Operational Services Public Works, Central York Fire, all have no comments or no objection. York Region, comments provided stating no comments with the proposed applications. LSRCA, no comments received at the time of the writing of the report, but comments provided for lot 69 stating no objections provided their review fee be paid and that a permit from LSRCA may be required prior to development taking place within the regulated portion of the property. Electric utility, comments stating that review, however, does not, has received and reviewed the proposed variance applications. Their standard comments follow. With regards to public correspondence, written submissions were received at the time of the writing of the report for minor variance 26 and 29. I believe that has been circulated. And I'll just also indicate that in Appendix A, there are conditions of approval that apply to lot 69. There are 2 conditions there and 1 condition applying to lot 92. So I note that we have Cheryl Cindric and Matthew Corey with us this evening. Good evening to you both and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen who may be joining us online. I am here, as you've noted, with Matthew Corey, our consulting planner on these applications. And as you've already noted, Mr. Chairman, these variances for these 2 lots, 69 and 92, are requested in order to, or as a result of land conveyances to our neighbors, as you have described in one case, to accommodate an existing fish pond and garden, being lot 69. And so those lands are being conveyed to the homeowner at 3 Trillium Drive. And in the case of lot 92, we are conveying lands to our neighbors at 39 Golf Links Drive in order to accommodate an existing tree and an encroaching fence. So I am going to turn it over to Matthew Corey, who we do have a presentation for the committee, and I'll let Mr. Corey walk you through that, assuming that you would find that to be helpful. And I'm certainly here to respond to any questions with Mr. Corey, should the committee have any.
So Cheryl, just for the record, just your name and office address, that kind of thing.
Oh, thank you. My name is Cheryl Shindrick. I'm Executive Vice President of Geranium, and we are the developers and home builders of the lots that are subject of these applications. Our office is 3190 Steeles Avenue in Markham. And this development is located, I believe it has a municipal address of 21 Golf Links Drive. Of course, that property is now being subdivided into individual lots. Does that help, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you so much. Just to get it on the record, Cheryl, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to mute myself now so that Mr. Corey can.
And good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Good to see you tonight. My name is Matthew Corey. I'm a principal planner with the land use planning firm Malone Given Parsons. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Our address is in Markham. It's 140 Renfrew Drive, Suite 201. And yes, I'm here to speak to the planning merits of the applications. Mr. Chairman, we did have a slide deck, and I believe the Secretary Treasurer is in control of that. I can also share my screen if that's helpful. Oh, there we go. Great. Peter's got it. So this is a quick, the covering page on this illustrates in red. These are the 5 variances, the 5 lots that are being requested for variances overall from you tonight. If we can jump ahead a bit down through the presentation, Peter, please, to the next slide. There's a bit of a zoom in. You can see there where the 4 lots are. Just to note, the colors that you see on the areas are the phasing of Highland Gate Development's plan. These areas that the variances are being requested for are in the latter phases of the plan. If we could jump, please, to slide 7, Peter, that would be great. Yeah, so first and foremost, with regards to minor variance 2022-26, this is lot 69. Certainly, the reasons for the variance have been quite clear and requested. It is helpful, though, to see the lot configuration and why this is being triggered. When the plan was originally done, we knew we had some lots that were not standard, and ultimately the requirements for any encroachments and or coverage would have to be looked at after the fact. And in this case as well, we are also requesting, we're also providing a conveyance at the back of the lot for the adjacent homeowner. You can see here the proposed siting for a lot. There's the 3 variances being requested here. The one variance, let's start with the rear yard setback. The rear yard setback requirement in the bylaw is for 7.5 meters. You see in this little table we have at the bottom, it's telling you that the requirement of the bylaw 7.5, we're providing 7.55. So that's being maintained. We're providing more than required in that regard. Side yard setback, of course, because of the unique nature of this lot, it's 1.5 meters. We're providing 25.3. And then to the garage, this is where the variance comes in. For the garage, it's 6 meter required setback. We're providing 5.68 proposed. You can see that the siting of the home has been brought forward a bit, and this is in the widest part, the deepest part of the lot where the home would be sited. So a bit of relief is required there. It is a very minor reduction in the setback requirement. And then again, as well, for the front yard to the main exterior portion of the house, 4.5 meters is required, and 4.15 meters is what is being proposed to be provided to allow the siting of this home. And I should note that the type of home and the massing of it is very similar to the homes on the other lots throughout Highland Gate. This is in keeping with the overall intent, I would say, of all the lots and the zoning to provide for these types of homes of a similar style and scale and nature. It's just become apparent both in providing this conveyance and citing the home that these minor variances are required to accommodate it. And lastly, of course, there's an intent and a beneficial design, I'd say, especially from an architectural perspective, of having a box window. And that box window encroachment is only permitted to be 0.6 meters. The request here is for 0.8 meters to allow that encroachment to occur. I've certainly reviewed the staff report, Mr. Chairman. I agree with staff's analysis and recommendations. I certainly do believe all 3 of these variances meet the tests under the Planning Act. They are in keeping with the official plan, the stable neighborhoods designation, providing homes that are of a similar and compatible type. They certainly meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. And this is a point I would like to make once, but please ask you to remember it as we go through the variances. The bylaw for this development was established with its ultimate approval relating to the draft plan of subdivision. And originally, the intent was to not provide any coverage requirements, or not that this applies in this instance, but the intent was to allow for the yards to dictate generally what the requirements on the lotting were for massing. Ultimately, through the approval, it was requested that to the extent we could, not having the final building elevations or the building massing, put coverage calculations and have standard lot and setback requirements. And that was established for most of the lots. Now that we're going through and providing conveyances and certainly citing lots and homes on these irregularly shaped lots, we're now realizing that there is a bit of a variance required. I do believe, though, the variances are minor and they are indeed appropriate and desirable to continue the home building that is going on all these lots throughout this area. Peter, if you can jump to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So lot 92, this is another fairly irregularly shaped lot, but as well, there's a significant conveyance shown in that orangey color at the north end of the lot. That is the conveyance for the koi pond, mature tree in this case. And that's being provided to allow for the preservation of that tree on the neighboring property. The requested relief in this case is from 7.5 meter required rear yard setback to the 6.95 meter setback. And as you can see on this diagram, that it only applies, this variance is only taking effect in that one corner of the siting of this home where the encroachment is occurring. For the rest of the lot, we can maintain and do provide the minimum rear yard standard. So again, I believe this one meets the 4 tests, and I have read again the staff report and concur with staff's recommendations in this regard. So with that, Mr. Chair, I think that's our presentation on these two, and very happy to answer any questions that committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Corey. And I appreciate that you're splitting them up the same way that I'm trying to deal with them here.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I think both our volumes have been turned off. Let me fix that. Sorry, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry, we got confused who was turning off volume, and I think we both did.
No, that's totally fine. Thank you. No, I was just mentioning that I appreciate that that you'd split your presentation up the way we're trying to go through these applications this evening. So I appreciate that. I don't believe that there is anyone joining the meeting from the public this evening. Am I correct, Peter?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. No, there's no public correspondence today.
Okay, no delegations. All right, we do have the one letter here that was circulated, and this is from the owner of 35 Golf Links Drive. I don't know if Cheryl or Matthew want to comment on that particular. I'm sure you've seen it. I guess I should ask that first, or comment or provide any comments on the concern that was raised. It's essentially individual disagreeing to allow the minor variance being on the basis of precedent setting for the development, as well as requesting that these homes may be larger. And I guess he is affected by one in particular being behind his home, but he disagrees with all of them.
Mr. Chairman, oh, we're getting echo here. I don't know what to do in that.
I will.
Okay, there, that's better. I guess what I would say to Ms. DeVries is that none of these ought to be considered precedent setting because any variance needs to stand on its own merits. And one variance does not in and of itself guarantee or, a future variance. So I think as Mr. Corey has outlined and as the town staff have outlined, these variance requests meet the tests set out in the Planning Act, as would any future variance application have to. So I think the concern about setting a precedent is unwarranted.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. I think we agree that they are all reviewed on their own merits, and that is how the committee reviews them. I'll look to members of the committee then for any comments, questions, or concerns. David, I see your hand up there. Go right ahead.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Corey and Ms. Shinruk for the presentations. And I really appreciate, this will just be my comments. I really appreciate the explanation. You actually answered almost all my questions I had about these two applications, about the reason for the many variances, the land conveyance you had. That was a very good presentation, and the pictures, the figures, the coloring, and so on. It was very easy to really see and understand. So I don't really have any problem with those. But I have a question or to the staff, or maybe an explanation. If maybe the chair knows, my understanding is that for the lot 69, one of the conditions was addressed. So my question is, if you, let's say this application, let's say the one with lot 69 is approved and in indicating the conditions, should we still mention about both conditions or only talk about one condition?
Thank you, David, for bringing that up. We did have a quick heads up on this from staff prior to the meeting. Sean, do you want to comment on that, or Peter? I believe one of those conditions have been satisfied.
Yes, so for minor variance 2022-26, which is 21 Golf Links Drive, lot 69, the condition number 2 has been fulfilled.
Okay.
So thank you, the chair. I don't have any questions. As I said, I have no problem with these two applications. Well explained, answered all my questions. And I'll be able to support it. Thank you.
Okay. So with regards to condition 2, I guess it would be sufficient for us to state in a motion that condition 2 has already been satisfied for minor variance 2022-26 for lot 69. And if we want to include that in the motion, that's fine. Otherwise, it's been satisfied. So staff would be aware that it is, and we can move on from there. But knowing that that condition has been satisfied is very helpful. So looking to other members of the committee for any comments or questions. Steve, go right ahead, please.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. And just for the record, I'm one of the people that are out of, members that are out of Aurora, and a bit of an unstable connection. So you might have seen my video turn off, but for the record, I did hear all of, I did see and hear all of Mr. Corey's presentation and the comments that preceded those. So thank you for that. If you do, please let me know if my audio cuts out here, and I will turn my video off again. I do have a few comments, a few questions, generally supportive of these applications. I think that it's very respectful of the existing conditions, and we are trying to develop within you know, it's infill development here, and we're respecting the existing trees and koi pond, and trying to build in harmony with the community residents. So I do applaud that. I did, Mr. Corey, you made one comment with respect to the application for, I believe it was lot 92. I just wanted to confirm with yourself and with staff that were these conveyances not to occur, that what you are proposing here with both of these developments would not result in any the need for any variances. And through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just direct that question to the applicant, and then just confirm with staff that that would be the case.
Yes,
Matthew, Matthew, if you want to answer that.
sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. With 92, as you can see on that diagram, we had the 7.5 meters across the whole rear of the lot. It's only in the portion of the conveyance where it comes down slightly to allow for that, as the lot line just gets shorter. It's just in that one northeast corner of the lot, essentially, where that becomes an issue. That's correct.
Fantastic. Thank you. And you know, I just, if we could just confirm that with staff through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Sean, have you had a chance to quickly look at that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The only way we would be able to confirm that is if there was information being provided as it relates to the conveyance itself. So right now, it just appears that the location has been highlighted, but there is really no other information, specifically no measurements, length, width, area. So based on the plans that were reviewed through the preliminary zoning review process, we actually can't confirm that simply because the information isn't provided. So we actually aren't able to confirm whether or not it would be required. We can pull the plan up if you like. If you'd like to take, I can show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, actually, thanks. I mean, I've seen the plan, and that was my assessment as well. But through you, Mr. Chair, I think, Sean, you make a valid point. So through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just direct to Mr. Corey again. So Sean raises a very good point, and it leads into my next question. So these conveyances haven't been done at present, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So essentially, the basis for the request for this minor variance is something that should happen, but haven't happened, and therefore, I think, and I guess through you, Mr. Chair, question to staff. I believe here an appropriate condition, additional condition, would be to make these minor variants, should an approval go forward, it should be contingent upon the conveyance of these lands, because that's the basis of the request here. And is that something, an additional condition that we could place on these applications?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. That can definitely be done.
Okay, and maybe through you, Mr. Chair, maybe to the representatives, would that be a condition? I think it's consistent with your application. Would that be a condition that you would be amenable to?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think certainly for 92, because for 92, that's the cause of it. For lot 69, I would say it's not solely, it's the irregularity of the lot that's causing the request for the variances on the front yard and citing a home in that.
Yeah, well, actually, that's another good point that you mentioned. The question is, because, and that was one of my questions, because where this conveyance is at the rear, and it's impacting, if I've understood this correctly, it's impacting the ability to meet your rear yard setbacks. But in fact, you're moving the house forward, to be able to, so we're asking for a front yard setback to address an issue in the back. Why not just maintain the front yard setback so it does not impact the streetscape and the the community, and just have the irregular rear yard and request a rear yard setback.
Mr. Corey, any comment on
Sorry,
that?
Cheryl and I were just looking at it together. I don't think we have a problem with that condition in the end, that the lands have to be conveyed. Just looking at it again, I think we don't have any problem with that for either, actually. Just if that helps. Sorry.
Thank you. It does, Mr. Corey. And thank you for that. And thank you, Sherry, for that as well.
Yeah.
I guess it just brings me to the question, why the front yard setback? Because that, does that not impact the streetscape? I realize we're only talking about 0.4 of a meter, but why not just apply for a rear yard setback to, allow that little scoop in the back?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the committee member. Oh, goodness, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so because of the length of the lot, and this house got such extensive side yards, we felt that having the house pulled just that slightly bit more forward and maintaining the rear yard lines, because we share a rear lot line with, so many dwellings, so many lots on the other side, that was the more appropriate thing to do.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I realize we're looking at a minor, a real minor amount here at 0.4 meters. Thank you for that. Yeah, with the additional condition on these two applications, I would be prepared to support these minor variance applications. So thank you. That's all for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. Let me look to any other member for comment. Linda, yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you. And through the chair, no, my comments are, I think they're fine and I understand what's going on, but I wanted to applaud actually the fact that you let these people have their koi pond and this mature tree, and then you conveyed land back to them. You're out there as the big bad developers. I hope everybody hears what you're doing out there to help these other people on Golf Links and on Trillium. I think it's a great idea. I mean, what my other colleague, what Steve was saying about, making sure that you actually go ahead and do it and that we'll approve it. That makes a heck of a lot of sense. But I'm just, I'm thankful. I'm glad you're doing that. That's all. I just wanted to say thanks. Okay.
So am I led to believe then, Linda, that we are not calling them big bad developers today?
I'm going to say I never do. Personally don't, because I know what you're up against. But you know what? That's the perception out there a lot of times. And I think everybody's got to hear both sides of the story once in a while. That's all.
It is. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Absolutely agree. Let me move to any of the other members of the committee. Daniel, any comments or questions?
Actually, no, through the chair, thank you. No, my main question was asked by Steve. So I'm actually pretty good. In terms of the homes and making do with odd shaped properties is a difficult task. I'm a little scared of the roads and later down that road, but that has nothing to do with this. So in terms of the work done to make sure that there are nice homes that are respectful of the neighbors. And I will reiterate Linda's comment about supporting the existing neighbors and providing land back to them. Very supportive of that and thankful for that as a community member. So just some comments. Otherwise I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. I just wanted to ask, I am going to assume, so never assume, so when we're looking at these particular applications, and I guess this may apply to the next ones, and I won't ask the question twice, I'll just ask it once. I'm assuming that you're coming forward here with these, are these homes either committed for or under contract, or are these homes just the model that you particularly want to put on those properties. Cheryl?
Mr. Chairman, so the homes are not under contract. We are preparing to go to market. And in looking at the lot fabric more carefully in these phases, and as a product of our ongoing consultation with our neighbors, this is how these applications have come to be. In determining houses that are appropriate to place on these lots, and the combination of the conveyances to the neighbors.
So if I understand correctly, then if any of these particular homes, then any of these particular lots, if an owner then was to come forward and say, I like this particular home on this property, but I'd like my garages 2 feet wider, is there a possibility then that we would end up coming back to the committee with additional requests for variances because of that?
I don't want to try and predict the future, Mr. Chairman, but we know that these homes are, these lots now will accommodate homes that have been designed in some cases specifically for the lot.
Okay.
So again, I can't predict the future, and I guess it's
No.
possible, but I don't know that it's likely.
Okay. I'll be honest, I think this came up, Cheryl, in some of the discussions that we've had in the past with other applications, where I did ask that question. And typically when we look at these things, it's because we know what is coming. The likelihood that there will be any changes beyond this one application is somewhat remote.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that would be the case here again, but as you indicate, they're not under contract. So they potentially could be subject to further revisions down the road. Okay. I'm supportive of these particular applications for the reasons basically that my colleagues have already mentioned. You have gone to lengths to do your best to work with the neighbors in these two cases, and I commend you,
Thank you.
and certainly prepared to support these applications before us in this grouping. So with that, I'll look to the members of the committee for a motion, and I'll just ask perhaps that we consider Steve's comments because I would like to see that as a condition for both of these applications. But I'll leave it to the committee then to bring a motion forward. And if it isn't included, I may ask for a friendly amendment. Steve, okay.
Sure, I'll give this a try. Let's see how my internet does. Before I make the motion, I just would like to confirm with staff, if I may, Mr. Chair. So are we suggesting that we eliminate condition number 2 with respect to minor variance application 2022-26, or are we just reflecting, formally reflecting here that it will remain, however, it has already been satisfied? What is the recommended course of action here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, conditions are cleared after an approval, a decision of approval is rendered. So in my opinion, it can just remain, and then the applicant can, it sounds as if they've already demonstrated that it's been cleared, but there's no harm in leaving it, in my opinion. It can stay, and we can just address that once the applicant works through the clearing of the other condition as well.
Fair enough. Thank you, Sean.
No.
Therefore, through you, apologies. Through you, Mr. Chair, hopefully you can hear me. Sean's frozen here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. That's great.
I'm sorry, I'm frozen here, so Oh,
No,
hello,
we can hear you fine.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you're not frozen here.
Okay, thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, I move with respect to minor variance application 2022-26 and minor variance application 2022-29 that we approve the applications subject to an additional condition that the two conveyances, one with respect to each property outlined in the staff report, are satisfied.
Look to members of the committee for a seconder. David, thank you very much. Calling the question, all of those in favor of those two minor variance approvals? Okay, so that passes. Thank you very much. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm just thinking if we should have done a separate motion for each individual variance as they appear on the agenda.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would recommend that there be a separate motion for each application, since technically there are two separate applications.
That's correct. Yeah, and I mentioned that at the top of the meeting, but okay. So let us deal with item 6.3, Steve, if you don't mind, we'll just do this quickly. Minor variance application 2022-26. So I'll look for a motion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to minor variance application 2022-26, I move that the minor variance application be approved, subject to the additional condition that the conveyances at the rear of the property, as outlined in the staff report, do occur, and that condition is satisfied.
Thank you very much. So let's do that again. Seconder, Linda, thank you. All in favor? And that carries. Steve, do you want to go for number 2?
Certainly. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that with respect to minor variance application 2022-29, that would be lot 92, that the minor variance application be approved, subject to an additional condition that the conveyances outlined in the staff report to the rear of the property are satisfied.
Thank you very much. Seconder, please. Daniel, thank you very much. Calling the question, all of those in favor? And that carries. At least we're consistent. All right. Moving on. So again, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to group 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7 on the agenda as they appear in the staff report. However, we'll look for individual motions for individual variances. So these applications are as follows. These are for Aurora HG Inc., 21 Golf Links Drive, minor variance 2022-27 for lot 86, minor variance 2022-28 for lot 57, and minor variance 2022-30 for lot 107. There are related planning applications, which we have already noted in the previous item, so I won't go through those. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to increase lot coverages for lots 86, 57, and 107, each relating to proposed two-story dwellings. The following relief is being requested. A, section 24.466.2.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 35%. The applicant is proposing two-story dwellings with lot coverages of 35.7% for lot 86 and 35.9% for lot 57, and B, section 24.466.2.4 2.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 36%. The applicant is proposing a two-story dwelling with a lot coverage of 36.3% for lot 107. And with regards to the related files, just as background and information, bringing us up to date with the other applications, in 2020, minor variance 20-03, the variances that were requested there were from, I believe the staff report has it backwards. It was 38% to 39.3% for minor variance 0304 was from 35% to 41.1%. And 05 was from 37% to 41.5. If you remember, members of the committee, we approved all but one, which was appealed by the applicant to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And in its decision, it was approved by the Ontario Land Tribunal. So in these cases, as stated on each of the application forms, lots 86, 57, and 107, the model type selected to be sited on the subject lot slightly exceeds the lot coverage provisions of the zoning bylaw. However, the home will fully comply with or exceed the minimum front, rear, and side yard setbacks. The increases in maximum coverage is minor in nature and will not impact neighboring properties and otherwise complies with the official plan and zoning bylaw. Those are comments for the basis of the application by the applicant. With regards to the general intent of the official plan, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan, and that it will have no impact on the existing neighborhood character. With regards to the general intent of the zoning bylaw, staff are of the opinion that the requested increase in lot coverage of 35.7%, 35.9%, and 36.4% meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With regards to they being considered desirable and appropriate development of the land, again, staff are of the opinion that the requested increase in lot coverage will not result in any impacts to abutting properties and is desirable and appropriate for the development of the lots. And that staff are of the opinion that the requested increase in lot coverage from 35 to 35.7 for lot 86, 35.9 for lot 57, and increase from 36 to 36.3% are minor in nature. Other comments received following circulation. The building division completed its review on July the 7th, 2022. Engineering division, operational services, parks and public works. No comments were received. Central York Fire Services, comments received stating no comments with the proposed applications, as well as York Region. LSRCA, there had been no comments received from them at the time of writing the report. Electric Utilities received and reviewed the proposed variance applications and states that this review, however, does not imply any approval of the project or plan, and their standard conditions then, or notes, I should say, not conditions, notes would apply. Again, we did have the one comment that was received in writing and no further comments received on these applications. There are conditions, in fact, one condition for these three lots. And with that, I will then turn it back over to the applicants for comments or presentation. Matthew or Cheryl?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so I am going to ask Matthew Matthew will walk us through the presentation, but what I'd like to say at the outset is with these three variance requests to coverage, two of them are to allow to facilitate conveyances to our neighbors. And the third one is a very tiny 37 square foot increase in coverage that is being requested. And in all three instances, all of the side yard, front yard, and rear yard setbacks are being achieved. So with that brief introductory comment, I will turn it over to Matthew.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead, Matthew. Thank you.
The Piers, I wonder if we could pull up the presentation again and jump right to slide 5. Because that sequentially would deal with minor variance 2022-27. This is lot 86 I was going to. So the slide should be slide 5 in the deck. Yes, thank you. Yep. So members of the committee, this is, I'll remind you, I said I wasn't going to remind you, but I will remind you, the intent of the bylaw in this case for these three applications was to try to establish the coverage to the best extent possible with foresight. And in this regard, this lot, you'll note, is one of the smaller lots in the whole development at 528 square meters. It's obviously located in phase 3. The overage on the coverage with the desired lot is 0.66%. So going from 35%, which was the standard coverage where we didn't know whether we needed increase or coverage or not, to the 35.66. As Cheryl mentioned, that's a 37 square foot increase in the maximum lot coverage. All of the, you can see in this little table at the bottom, all of the yard standards are met or exceeded. In particular, the rear yard is exceeded by 0.5 meter, even on this small lot. I do believe that this variance meets the 4 tests of the bylaw, certainly meets the intent of the official plan to provide housing that's compatible and of a similar nature. I do believe it meets the intent of the bylaw itself, which, as I mentioned, in establishing a coverage number here, I won't say it was a best guess, but it was the best estimate we had at the time when it was being established. And to provide a unit and a housing model very similar to what we provided on adjacent lots, it triggers a bit of a coverage requirement here, slightly higher than what we anticipated. Maybe we can go to the next slide, which is the previous slide for lot 57. That is minor variance 2022-28. Oh, sorry, I meant one just before that. Slide 4 it should be. Yeah, thank you. Great. In this case, we do have one of the larger lots. However, there is land being conveyed to 30 Devlin, similar to prior variances we talked about. The conveyance in combination with the a typical model, similar to the other lots that would be in this street, does trigger, again, a slight increase in coverage being required up to 35.87, whereas 35% coverage is permitted. This is a 63 square foot increase in the overall lot coverage. Once again, all of the yard setbacks are met, and indeed the rear yard setback is more than met at 11.4 meters over the 7.5. It's the calculation of this didn't account for a conveyance originally. This is also providing, it's for the neighbor's fence. Ultimately, that's what the conveyance is for. So to preserve that fence and keep it in its location. And that is the intent for this. Again, with this, I've reviewed the staff report. I agree with staff's assessment of it and do believe it meets the 4 tests under the Act. And if we can just jump to the last one, this is lot 107. So it's 2 slides down, I believe. Yeah, thank you. Again, there's a very slight conveyance at the back, again, for a fence in the rear of 107. You'll note that the minimum permitted, maximum permitted coverage here is 36%. This is one of the lots that we had taken an attempt with a conveyance, with estimating what the lot coverage would be beyond the 35%. But once again, we did not account for a conveyance in the back. Of the existing lots, yes. So when that's accounted for, we have a very slight increase going from what we anticipated to be 36% coverage to the 36.29. Again, all other setback requirements and provisions of the bylaw are maintained on this lot. And once again, I have reviewed the staff report and do concur with staff's assessment. And it's of my opinion as well that this meets the 4 tests under the Act. So, Mr. Chairman, why don't I leave it there? And of course, we're here again and happy to answer any questions you or committee have.
Thank you very much, Matthew. That's terrific. All right, I'll ask Peter to bring us back, and if we need to draw those graphics back up, we'll do so. Again, I do not believe there is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the committee. So I will turn it over to members of the committee for any comments or questions on these 3 applications. I think we're pretty much in the know, if you will, on these particular 3. Steve, I see your hand up there, though. Go right ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I feel a comment is warranted here, given the comment that we received from the community resident, and I'm sure the applicants, remember on our previous applications, Ms. Schindrick, I think that you stated it very well, that each application needs to be judged on its own merits. But when I look at, as I mentioned, I think everyone will remember that I voted against 2 of the 3 minor variance applications the last time. We were talking about variances of 5-6% over what was in the plan of subdivision, which was a mediated plan of subdivision. So my views haven't changed, towards what I would consider large deviations to what was a mediated settlement. In this particular case, and I think everything that we've seen today, as my colleague Linda, I think, voiced very well, shows a real effort to work with the existing community to, and here I would speak to, am I freezing here? I see, Mr. Chair, that you're smiling.
Yeah, you did, but you got to the important point right at the very end, so we're good.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I mean, at the end of the, I see that the applicant here is working with the community. I'm very pleased. I don't know if this is, there was internal discussion, but I feel that these variances are immaterial. And here I am speaking to the resident. I am very prepared to support them because I do not see any community impact. And on the contrary, I see what the applicant is trying to do here, which is to respect the community concerns. And like my other members, I applaud that. So, as a member who voted against 2 of the 3, I am fully prepared to support these 3 minor variance applications as they stand. I don't believe there needs to be any additional conditions. That's my position. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Steve. And I'll go right to Daniel. Daniel, go right ahead, please.
Thank you through the chair. Yes, thanks for reminding on the previous time that these came to committee. I will also iterate that I think I'll add the comment that Steve made the first time but didn't do this time, which is to ensure that the conveyances are to be part of anything that is brought forward by committee, and if they are not, then I'll try to make a friendly addendum to make sure that I believe 2 of these have conveyances, so that continues. In terms of the homes, yes, they are big, but you have worked with the community in order to be a little bit more respectful of the neighboring permitting for growth. My only concern, I'll say the same as I said on the last ones, but they have nothing to do, but I'm just verbalizing it, is the roads. I'm a little bit scared of how tight those roads are to backyards. It is going to be a little bit tricky the way that the roads were selected, but I understand they're to maximize the number of homes. But there are some spots here where it get very tight, and putting roads right in backyards is a little bit tricky. But that has nothing to do with what is brought forward here. So in terms of the 3 minor variances provided, I will also support, but I will ensure that the conveyances are supported as they are supporting the community, but as well are part of the decisions to bring up those percentages. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, I would concur with that too, just to cover that off from my perspective. I see, David, you've got your hand up as well. Go right ahead, David.
Through the chair, I don't have any questions, but just general comments, basically supportive comments. Just thank you, Cheryl and Matthew for clear explanations and also the reasons why we have these minor variances very clear. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Linda, any comments from your remote location?
I am remote. Thank you through the chair. No, I'm going to say what I said before. I'm appreciative of taking the community into consideration when you're making these kind of changes, when you're putting the houses in, when you're considering the big tree in the backyard, and that, you know what, it's very appreciative, and I think the people of the town of Aurora would appreciate it too when they find out, because I'll tell everybody. No, it's just a good thing. It's just a good thing. Anyway, thank you, and yeah, I support the application. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I would be certainly prepared to support these 3 applications as well. I would like the conveyances put in. I know, Matthew, you mentioned that you're on that one lot where it was really close. It's just that very narrow strip across the back. However, you mentioned there is a fence as well as part of that one. Am I correct?
That is correct. Yeah, both the conveyances were fenced on these.
Yeah, so you're taking steps to allow those fences to stay there regardless of how close that percentage lot coverage increase is. So yeah, I would just applaud you again. That's certainly demonstrating working with the community, and as a planner myself, I can tell you sometimes these types of negotiations with individual property owners can get quite testy at times, but I sure do know that you've gone to efforts here, so I certainly applaud that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may be digressing, but for the benefit of the committee, we've actually successfully made many conveyances to accommodate existing conditions without needing to come for a variance request. So it's the nature of the property. We've got a lot of irregular, and we don't have a lot of uniform lots, but we've very successfully been able to do that in many other instances. So I do appreciate the committee's consideration and indulgences on these applications.
Yeah, and I thank you for mentioning that. Very much appreciated, Cheryl, because yeah, there are a lot of things that do happen behind the scenes that don't bring things forward to council or committees, and you're certainly demonstrating your willingness to work through that. I guess you're finding us a little bit less confrontational this evening, which is a good thing. Yeah, and my only comment too, and I made this before quite some time ago, is you've got single loaded streets, which drives the cost of development, quite high, but you're working within the parameters of golf courses. And having had the experience working with other golf courses, this is not uncommon. It's unfortunate, but not uncommon. It's just, as to Daniel's comment, there's, some curves and then there's some intersections that you don't like doing, but, you use the best course of action possible when you're doing the layouts and the subdivisions, and it happens. So I'm going to park it right there. When we go to the committee here, can I please ask that we deal with 6.4, which is minor variance 6.5, minor variance 2022-27 first. So I'll look for a motion on that variance first. And I see, David, you've got your hand up there. David, you're muted. So do you want to unmute your mic? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Through the chair, I move that minor variance application MV-2022-27 for lot 86 be approved, subject to the one condition in the staff's report.
Thank you very much. I'll look for a seconder, please. Linda, thank you. And I'll call the question. All of those in favor.
86. You don't have it
Thank
on
you
this.
very much. 86. Yes. All right. And so I'll look to the, sorry, Steve. Oh, you're putting your hand up for that next one. Go ahead. And you're muted still.
Apologies, go ahead. I was frozen. I didn't know if you'd seen me. I'm going to let another member bring the motions forward because my internet's a little choppy, so apologies.
No problem. So I'll look for a motion for minor variance 2022-28. And I believe there is a conveyance with that one. Linda, do you want to go for that one?
Through the chair, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Okay, I motion that the minor variance application for MB-2022-28, 21 Golf Links Drive, lot 57, be approved according be approved according to the Appendix A recommended condition of approval number 1.
And conveyance of property
And
associated.
convenience of property associated with it.
Thank you very much. Look for a seconder on that. See David, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Thanks.
And thank you very much. That carries. All right, and the final one, Linda, you're on a roll. Do you want to just continue?
Sure. Okay, thank you through the chair. Okay, I motion that minor variance application MV-2022-30, 21 Golf Links Drive, lot 107, be approved with the oh shoot, now I missed the last one. With the conveyance of be approved in as a recommended condition of approval number 1. Did I get it all in there?
Subject to the conditions of approval and conveyance.
And conveyance. Okay, the conditions of approval and conveyance.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Of lands associated. Thank you. I'll look for a seconder, please.
Thank you. not me.
See Steve there. Okay, thank you very much. So Steve is seconded, and I'll call the question. All of those in favor of the motion?
Okay.
And that carries unanimously. All right, terrific. Thank you very much. So I want to thank Cheryl and Matthew for being with us this evening. And all of those minor variances approved by the committee. And I'll wish you both a very pleasant evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee. Good evening, all.
Good evening, all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that completes the applications for this evening. I'll look to the members of the committee for any new business. David.
No, sorry. I jumped. I thought it was asking for adjournment.
I'll just throw any new business on the table if there is any, and if there isn't any, then I'm going to be coming right back. I have to say, before we adjourn, this has been a somewhat of a relaxed meeting. And I don't know whether it's because a couple of our members are in remote locations and enjoying what the summer we're having here. So
absolutely.
That's terrific. Yeah. All right. Seeing no new business, I'll ask staff, is there any new business arising from staff's perspective? Sean or Peter?
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing to report on my end. No.
Terrific.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. In that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing to report on my end as well.
All right. Thank you very much, fellas. All right. So I assume that Sean, if there's any further discussion with staff, with Marco and Ramuno on driveways, I'd appreciate perhaps at the next meeting, just a quick update on that. I think we're going to see an awful lot more of these moving forward. We've seen more and they're increasing. So if there's anything that can come back to the committee on that, I'd appreciate hearing it.
No problem at all. Yes, I'll raise it with him for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. David, did you have anything further?
Yeah, just to comment on that, especially the ones where we don't see any impact on trees or impact on any other infrastructure like a water box or water valve. Those ones, yes, where you see there isn't any impact on anything else like vegetation or anything. It would be better to not come, resolve them there, and it saves you resources, time to write reports and so on. And even for the committee to review them and just to rubber stamp, say, okay, yes, it's approved.
I'll just note I'm biting my tongue.
All right.
That's been noted.
I'll look to the committee for a motion to adjourn.
David.
No, David. No, this is David.
Okay.
David.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Thank you very much. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. So